What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Manchester United 0, Bournemouth 3. Yes, that is a real scoreline. That is a real result that has happened at Old Trafford today. And I thought that the Newcastle game was the worst performance of the season. But certainly today, I mean, it's one of the most embarrassing and humiliating results of the season, isn't it? And I don't want to discredit Bournemouth because I thought they did very well today. They took their goals. And frankly, they're coming out of the game looking at 3-0 and saying to themselves, should have been more. Should have been more. Very unfortunate to have their goal ruled out at the end. Had a couple of other goals ruled out for offside or what have you. Manchester United were just shocking. There's no way to really dress that up. And I know that I've been very positive about Manchester United this week. And I know that I've been very, firm in the backing of the manager. And I still am. But that's inexcusable. There's no way of dressing it up. It's absolutely inexcusable. It was just awful. Absolutely awful. I mean, we can go through individuals, but now as we go into a massive week, it's really, really worrying because I think the next, 8 days we play Liverpool next Sunday. The next 8 days are going to be incredibly toxic, I think, for Manchester United. Obviously the fallout from a result like this today is just going to be catastrophic. I think, obviously, then you get into the Bayern Munich game. I know Bayern Munich lost considerably today to Frankfurt. I think it was like 4 or 5-1. But even that worries me because then they come to Old Trafford, whereas previously they might not have had that much of a point to prove because they're already through in the Champions League. But now they've got to back up and react from a really bad result that they've had. So they're going to be on all firing Bayern Munich at Old Trafford. I think most people assume probably going to go out of the Champions League. And then next weekend at Anfield, playing like that, as frail as we are defensively, because that's what we have been saying recently, haven't we? Despite some of the positivity, we are so frail in defensive transition. We saw that today numerous times from a Bournemouth side. You think a side with Mo Salah isn't going to do that to you? They're going to rip us apart at Anfield. And it's going to be a really, really horrible 8 days for us. Bruno Fernandes is now suspended. And I think that's absolutely, honestly, disgraceful. There is no reason at 3-0 down in a Premier League match, so when you know that if you get a yellow card, you're going to miss the next game to get suspended. What was it for? Dissent? I think it was as well. I mean, if I missed that, you can let me know in the chat, but that's awful. Anthony Martial started today. He was really, really poor. He came off and we got worse as well, to be honest with you. Luke Shaw, we praised him recently. Terrible today as well. You look at to be honest, the front three that looked more dangerous, or certainly the wide players did nothing today. Alejandro Garnacho, from a player that's been consistent the last few weeks, today, it felt like every decision he did was wrong. It was always the wrong decision. It was always the poor decision, always, an error. I think probably the only player that can really probably hold his head fairly high would probably be Harry Maguire, who, played decent for the majority of the game. Even he wasn't perfect, but did all right. But it's just not good enough. I mean, it's absolutely catastrophic, absolutely embarrassing, humiliation. Think of every descriptive word you can think of in a negative point of view, and that's exactly what it is today. And Erik ten Hag, it's going to be probably, I would think, the most testing 8 days of his Manchester United career now, honestly, at a time of which people have already got itchy trigger fingers anyway, at a time in which, they think that the Ineos thing is going to be confirmed in December. He's got to find himself to not get in a situation where he gets so toxic that Ineos come in and decide, well, maybe we just sort of do a clean slate. I think maybe we looked a bit too far ahead for these games coming up against Bayern and Liverpool and just assumed it would be a sure thing, an easy thing. And as we said, Bournemouth are one of the most informed teams in the Premier League, and we just got absolutely ripped apart. We didn't look like scoring a single goal today, whereas Bournemouth looked like scoring 5 or 6. And I think that speaks volumes. It really, really does. You saw today with someone like a Scott McTominay that if he's not scoring, he offers nothing, but he stays on the pitch because he scores goals. It was just awful. Absolutely awful, absolutely abysmal. And I'm sure plenty of you have your say on it. You can call in. This is the full-time view. Of course, members can call in and have their say. If you do wish to become a member, you can do so. Links in the video description. It's also the pinned comment in the live chat, or you can just click the join button. You can become a member. You get your badges, your emojis, your exclusive members-only content, and the ability to call in to this show as well. If you are a member and you do wish to call in and you do wish to have your say, you can do so by going to the YouTube page, go to the community tab. The link is there. Only members can see it, so only members can call in. A couple of super chats and we'll get to the calls. I'm sure plenty of people have a lot to say today. Ginger Bish says it's time to sack Erik ten Hag. Let's move on. Well, I think it's fair to say Erik ten Hag is not going to get sacked today. Like I said, I worry for the fallout of next week. We had said it all week that Manchester United are one game away, one defeat away from a crisis. I think had we won today, and we knew that next week was going to be bad, had we won today, that would have softened the blow of what's to come next week, frankly. But not only the defeat today, but the manner of the defeat is put, an extraordinary amount of pressure on Ten Hag. But as I've said throughout the week, football's a funny game. We'll see how results play out over the next 2 weeks. Because frankly, who knows at this point, to be honest with you, right? But it's absolutely humiliating and embarrassing. Cabastic says, it hurts because Bournemouth comfortably beat us. Ten Hag's job is looking untenable. It's a results business in the end. Well, this is what's interesting with that super chat, Cabastic, is because it is a results business. And that's what I've been sort of saying recently. But people have been saying, well, no, performances as well. If this continues and it does get to a point where everyone starts pulling away from us, then he's going to find himself in a really difficult and challenging position. I can't hide from that, certainly. Zayn Miasi says Rice to get the winner. I think Arsenal is the smallest of Manchester United's problems at the moment, certainly. Gurav with the super chat as well. It says, let's be real here. All season, we haven't looked convincing. Even against Chelsea, they made us look good on that day. I'm just tired of the manager and the players and the owners. Honestly, it's sad. Well, I think with the Chelsea one, I did see people saying, well, Chelsea are a really poor side. But in that instance, I think most people said that was our best performance of the season. But there's no hiding from, you've got now a 3-game period in the Premier League. Sandwiched between it is maybe United's best performance of the season, but sandwiched between it is 2 of Manchester United's worst performances of the season, arguably the 2 worst performances of the season. Certainly the worst performance against Newcastle, where it could have been like today, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. And today against an even worse side, a team that's 15th in the league, granted they're in form, but a worse side at home in front of your own fans. And we were losing that game from the 5th minute and never looked like getting back in it. And that is just ultimately not good enough at all, is it? Certainly not. Let's go to some calls. Let's start off with Show. Let's start with Show today. You're probably better than I, Show. How on earth do you provide any analysis of that?
No, you can't. You can't. You just have to say it for what it is. Disgraceful performance. I think enough protecting of these players. I think with too many times, a lot of people in our fan base, after one good game, we get overhyped. I saw tweets midweek saying, "Oh, Reguilon was a monster. We need to sign him full time." Was atrocious today, simply because I don't even want to trash him, but he's just not of the standard. Like a lot of these players. And this is the thing we were talking about midweek, isn't it, Owen? Like, can we repeat the performance we saw midweek? We got the answer, didn't we?
Yeah.
And like you said, you can always concede early. Look, we conceded an early goal. A goal that we've conceded a lot this season, kind of go down the sides, pull back, but got 85 minutes. 85 minutes to come back into the game. And we only got worse in the second half. You'd think we got get response second half. I can't remember one save Neto made in the second half. I can't. I'm trying to think of a chance to create.
Really throughout the game. Like I said, we conceded, and I thought for maybe 10 minutes after that, I thought, well, actually, it looks like we might get one back. We're looking all right. But then the first half just petered out. And then next thing you know, you're looking at the clock going, time's running out and we're not doing anything. And then it almost felt like from just before they scored their second goal that United had just kind of given up and just went, oh, we're not winning today. And then that was it. And then fall apart, capitulation again. And it could have and should have been way more. I mean, when your defense can't haggle, no disrespect to the guy, but Dominic Solanke, and he's like looking like, I don't know how you would describe him today. I mean, it says a lot. It says a lot. And we were worried about next week as it is, but how do you feel about next week now on the back of today?
I think regardless of the result today, I would have always felt that we were going to get battered at Anfield next week, because these are even the midweek performance. Like, if you actually deep it, Chelsea could have still scored 2 or 3. We just should have scored 6. But the thing is, if you play like that at Anfield, you're not gonna score the 6, and you're still gonna concede the 4. So it's like it doesn't really matter how we play today and against Chelsea, because we know. Look, as much as United fans hate it, we're not in the same world as Liverpool. We're not in the same world as City. We're not in the same world as Arsenal. We don't look at them anymore. We don't. So that's just the standard we are nowadays. But I think in terms of the bigger picture, I just think there's always one performance under each manager where I go, there's no coming back from this. And I just think today I felt that about Ten Hag. I just think his days are numbered now, and I just worry that, look, we got Bayern and Liverpool back to back. Like you said, Bayern got slapped. I think it was 5-1 today, which I was just pretty crazy. But they're going to be angry now, regardless of the fact that they've won the group. They're going to want to get some kind of response midweek. And then you go to Anfield. And I just think if we concede 12, 13 goals in a week, as much as we can say the club backs Ten Hag now, 13 goals conceded 7 days later changes a lot of minds. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I do worry. I always penciled that game in at Anfield, and I thought after that Ten Hag might go. I'm kind of sure of that now. I think Ten Hag's gone next week. I really do.
Really. My feeling on it is that I don't know if it will happen, say, next week. But prior to the game when we played Chelsea, like after that Newcastle game, when you sort of said, you go, I tell you what, there's gonna come a time where it's gonna get close, sort of thing. And I felt that after the game against Chelsea and the way that we played, and maybe arrogantly to an extent, assuming that we would win today, I thought, well, next week's gonna be bad, but it'd be in and around it. I think he'll be all right. Do you think then, if it's not next week though, that it might? Like, there's going to be more days like today, essentially. There's going to be more days like today, and that's going to lead to probably a problem in the future for him.
Look, it's quite simple. Like, again, it's this thing about standards and letting our standards fall, which I do feel like our fan base has done the last 5 years or so. But if you stick with players that are associated with failure, you're going to get more failure. That's just it. Like, it's just these kind of performances you're going to get from these players because it's just who they are. It's just what they are. Like, you're not gonna get better. When I say better, I mean consistently, week in, week out. You'll get the odd Chelsea performance here and there, fine. But I'm talking about consistently, especially when, like, for example, today you got a team in Bournemouth who under Iraola, they play a very high pressing game, which you saw from the first minute. And when we play an aggressive team, we can't handle it. Bournemouth, Newcastle, other games this season, we can't handle aggressive teams because, number one, we don't have the physicality, mentality, or the technical ability. They're the three key things. We don't have any of those things. You saw today when we tried to play at the back, again, players like Maguire, albeit he was player of the month, these kind of players get found out in games like this. And that's where even I got to question Ten Hag, because today, for example, us as fans, we can see that in an aggressive team, a high-pressing team, someone like Amrabat's going to struggle because he's not good under the press. Kobe didn't even come on today. That's crazy to me. Like, I know there's rotation and not wanting to start Rasmus all the time, but you're starting a guy, Martial, who is not even I don't know how to describe this guy anymore. I don't know. How do I describe this guy? Because you're playing him, but you're not going to get anything from him. I mean, I was astounded. I heard Rich on the UV stream today say that he was a great addition in the first half. I don't know what I don't know what to say to that, by the way, but you're starting these players. You're not, again, I've said this to you, Owen, before. He's not helping himself, right? Yeah. Because, again, McTominay, I don't know how long he played today, but we know when he doesn't score and the team stops him from scoring, he ain't going to do anything else. He's not going to do anything. And then what I find crazy is that the first people seem to blame is Garnacho, but he's a young kid. He's probably the youngest player on the pitch today. So it's just mad.
And it's also worrying, isn't it, with Garnacho? So he doesn't have the best game today, and you're thinking, right, who comes on? And you go, Rashford comes on, but you already know what you're going to get if he comes on. So you go, well, you know what I mean? Like, what are we going to do? And does that go back to then, like with the Ten Hag thing, like you said, when it comes to the players aren't good enough as well, that I guess even if the manager does go, like, does it get any better anyway? Because it's the same group of players.
It won't get better. It won't. Look, a lot of these fan things it's going to get. It's not going to get better. It's just, look, people need to accept it's not gonna. We can sack Ten Hag. I don't know who the hell's gonna come in, by the way, but it's not gonna get better. It's gonna get more toxic. It's going to get worse. You think today's better? It's gonna get worse. I'm telling people, it's gonna get worse. Yeah, and the team, I always say, plays in the image of its captain. Today's captain, you saw, that's our captain. So enough of this Bruno. I can't hear this Bruno hype anymore because, like you said, yeah, 3-0 down, and you got booked for dissent. And I'm telling you now, Owen, yeah, he did that on purpose because he's a coward. He didn't want to play next week at Anfield. That's our captain. He's a coward. He didn't want to play because you're telling me, yeah, if a player knows that they're gonna get one more booking, they're gonna get booked for dissent at 3-0 down, and that's not intentional.
What do you think Ten Hag would think of that as well? Because there's no way that they haven't, that's not been discussed before the game. What do you think he says to Bruno?
Look, he's got to be consistent with it because he's punished players before for bad attitude and insubordination. If that's Bruno, even if it's after back from suspension, you don't play him. Simple. Because today, even before the yellow card, right, is that a guy that's leading the team today? Throwing his hands about. I mean, it's not the first time we've seen it. We've seen it for years now with Bruno in games where we need him to pull the team up. That is the role of the captain of the team. No matter, I don't care what anyone says, especially when you're captain of United. Yeah, captain of United. We've seen previous captains. This means something. Yeah, but he goes the opposite way. He gets worse when we go behind.
Yeah, although there was a moment, I think, in the beginning of the second half where we started fairly brightly, did all right. I think we had a couple of corners and what have you, and it comes back to Bruno, and he just went long out for a goal kick. And I just thought, like, that would talk about a way of just removing any sense of momentum that you're trying to build up in that game. I don't know, man. I don't know. But just before we wrap up, so with Ten Hag, with his future, again, you said you think that happens after the Liverpool game, or do you think it lasts a bit longer for him?
I honestly think that Liverpool game is going to be bad. So I just think the toxicity, like you said already, the toxicity is going to build up this week. If we lose against Bayern, it goes up even more. And then after the Liverpool game, it might just become just intolerable. You know what I mean? So but I don't want him to get sad because I do want him to succeed. But at the same time, I just look at the team and I just think that was a seventh defeat this season. We've lost 10 games in all comps. 10. Yeah. 10. Yeah. It's December. It's nuts. So we're on course to lose 20 games this season. It's crazy. Like, it's not sustainable, is it?
No, certainly isn't. Big up, Chef, calling in as always. I think there's going to be a lot of that kind of feeling today, certainly. Scars says, the Martial slander is insane. How was he bad today? Look at the performance drop-off when Højlund came on. Martial done fine and got 0 chances. I think both of them did bad. I don't think they're mutually exclusive, honestly. I think Martial was... I was really surprised to see him start, honestly. I really was. I thought that maybe I could understand the logic behind it a little bit. Maybe Ten Hag thought that Bournemouth were going to get behind the ball and we were going to have a lot of the ball. So it was about link-up play. But I just felt that the biggest takeaway from the Chelsea game in the week was that we were actually quite intense and the front three had intensity. And I don't know. That's when you get into like I think the blame's almost on the manager for picking him in that instance because you know what you're going to get with Martial. You're not going to get that pressing from the front. So what do you kind of expect from that? But I don't think either of them were good, to be honest with you. But I don't think you can say, well, we played worse when Martial came off, so Martial played well. I don't think it particularly works like that, to be honest with you. Let's go to another call. Let's go to Aminor. Aminor, what are your thoughts? What's your analysis of that defeat?
I woke up this morning, did a bit of housework, and I was confident. Chelsea performance, decent result. I genuinely thought, and this was no, intention. I thought, right, we should beat Bournemouth today, 2-0, 3-0. And I was focusing on the Bayern game, Liverpool game. And then I saw that performance. And the worrying sign for me was the first goal when Bruno gave it away. And I think that was on Bruno, to be honest, predominantly. The ball and Scott McTominay not controlling it. It just looked like they lacked intensity again. And I agree with everything that Show said in terms of where this leaves Ten Hag. But for me, I want to talk about the players before I talk about the manager and the game. Bruno is not my captain. I know Harry Maguire's in my captain, but I don't think Bruno's my captain. The fact that we've got the biggest match in a week's time as a derby. If you know Manchester United football history, Liverpool is our number one enemy. We're playing them away. Last season, you were part of the team that lost 7-0 there. You think, right, you want to redeem yourself. You know you've got one more yellow card. If you get one more yellow card, you're not going to be playing. The fact that he did that, I agree with Shaw. It might have been intentional. Whatever it is, he's not my captain anymore. I don't see him as a captain material. Neither is Harry Maguire, but he's definitely not my captain. So that's the first player I'm going to have a go at. And even his performance today, it was a bit erratic. It wasn't that effective. When I compared him to the Chelsea game, it wasn't that effective. And then other players I want to mention, Owen, before you say anything. But Martial wasn't great. I was surprised that he started. But when Højlund came on, he wasn't great either. They were both as poor each other. And it's not because of, I don't know whether it's the lack of fitness or I just don't think the forward lineup of the wingers and the attackers in the midfield are gelling at all. When I looked at that Chelsea game, there's lots of triangles of knowledge, there's a lot of interplay, they knew where to go. Today was just horrendous, and I can't understand how you go from a good performance against Chelsea to a really poor performance like this. And it reminds me of like this win loss. It reminds me similar to what it was like when Ollie's reign toward the end. He'd win one game, then lose another game, win a long game. And this is the game that I think he's lost me a little bit, the manager and the team. I think he's going to get sacked eventually. I don't know when. But because it was against Bournemouth at home. And Bournemouth, I thought, they were a decent team, the 15, but actually they played well. But they scored 3 of the goals. 2 of their goals came from our mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm lost for words. And this is the game I thought, Owen, I could sort of, I banked us to win because I expected us to draw or lose against Bayern and probably lose against Anfield, lose against Liverpool at Anfield. But Ten Hag would have been relatively okay. But I now do fear next 8 days, I think the toxicity and with Sir Jim Ratcliffe potentially coming in, this generally is the beginning of the end of Terry Ten Hag. And I'm not Eric Ten Hag out, but the players are throwing him on the bus, not himself per se.
Yeah, that's my sort of worry. Is we have seen, like, just with the media, earlier this week prior to the Chelsea game, and I mean we played Newcastle on Saturday, so there was what, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, sort of, and then into Wednesday. But really, there was 4 days, and it felt like with all the reports and all of the sort of the sentiment on social media and that, it felt like it was almost inevitable he was going to get sacked. Then that was just 4 days. We've got 8 days now of two get matches, and then the fallout of whatever happens next weekend as well. And you do worry that is that kind of pressure just going to get too intense and too much that Ineos do come in and just go, it's a clean slate. But at the same time, it's just where my sort of mindset hasn't really changed, because I still look at that group of players today and just go, I mean, you mentioned going up and down, up and down. It's the same with the intensity, isn't it? I mean, yeah. Newcastle, 0 intensity. Chelsea high intensity today, and then disappears today. And with that, what can Ten Hag do with that, do you think?
No, I don't know about the intensity. Maybe is he overtraining them? But I think this team is playing on emotions. What's driving through the games is not physicality or patterns of play. It's just emotion. So they'll big themselves up. They motivate themselves up for the Chelsea match. They won the match, and then emotionally they come down because the energy levels drop, and then they play against Bournemouth. And Bournemouth at home, it wasn't Arsenal at home, or it wasn't against a top 6 team. It was a team that was 15th in the league. And yes, they had a decent run form. We should not be losing to them 3-0. 1-0 maybe, a 1-1, but not 3-0.
Yeah.
I'm not the manner that we lost. And the players that were Ten Hag bought, like, I want to pick one player in particular, Anthony. Yeah, he does okay, he still runs, but he refuses to cross with his right foot, and his output's still not there. So I'm thinking the players that Ten Hag is relying upon, forget the players that he's inherited, the players that he's looking at, not one of them is turning up. And I think, was it? Yeah, not one of them has really. I'm just trying to think of a player that is playing now for Ten Hag, who's been signed by Ten Hag, who's actually turned up for him. I can't think of anyone. The person who has turned up is probably Maguire, which is not a Ten Hag signing. So,
no.
Yeah, I'm just. A part of me feels that I don't want the manager to get sacked. I really don't, because we need to break the cycle. But it's these players who are going to get him sacked, and these next 2 games will determine his fate.
Yeah, I think, like you're right, it's the players, but also it's like Show was also saying earlier. Is this also a case of where, but he doesn't help himself? Like again with some of the selections today, or not making a sub at halftime.
Okay. So be honest with me. When you saw that lineup, apart from Martial, were you relatively happy with that lineup?
Yeah, I was certainly.
So how can you blame Ten Hag for that? So you got the lineup right, apart from Martial. The players did that. I think this is more on the players not following instructions or not having that intensity, rather than the manager. Because how could he influence the game? The other thing I was going to mention about the defenders. I know I'm taking my time on here. He brings on Johnny Evans, and we've got Varane on the bench. So I think this is where I probably agree with what Sean is saying. He's not helping himself. Has he fallen out with Varane so much that he's willing to bring on Johnny Evans over Varane when you're trying to win the game, or Kobe Mainoo's on the back? So I do agree with you in those instances. He creates his own problems, and he doesn't need those problems. He's got other problems that he needs to be dealing with. But I do agree with you that to a certain extent, he's created his own problems, and because of that, and because of these players who don't change the way they perform, and they've thrown other managers under the bus, he will eventually go, and I don't want him to go.
No, I agree. Big up Amador for calling in as always. A couple of super chats here and new members too. Scars says, Owen, we need to talk. I'm becoming a member just so I can call up and debate you on this one day. Martial pressed just fine today and knitted up the play. Well, look, this is the thing. That is just my opinion. People have similar opinions or differing opinions. That's what this show is for. And Scars has joined. So there you go. And obviously, if you are a member, you can call in. You can have your say. Tiemann says, curious for what people who are Erik ten Hag out want to do. No good manager out there fixes this team. Well, that's kind of my sort of mindset as well when it comes to this, is that I think any manager with this group of players is probably getting a similar kind of tune out of them. Honestly, Manchester United fundamentally is just completely broken. And also, if you were to get rid of Erik ten Hag, okay, but that next replacement, that next decision is so key. And do you trust the people that are currently there to make that call? And even with Ineos, if they've just come through the door, do you trust them to make that call, immediately when they've haven't even got their feet under the table? Because it's a massive decision to make. And also the boss is the latest member. So appreciate you joining the UV Members Club as well. Let's go to another call. Let's go to Pav. Pav, what do you make of, why'd you start with what you saw today?
It's embarrassing, man. I was like, oh, mate, you know what? I'm kind of lost for words, because I said that we should have won. I said to KG's channel earlier that there was a show on there, and I said, I want to see a 4 or 5-0 win. I was like, I don't know. I even said to KG, I'm willing to give the manager the side eye and get off his back a little bit after that Chelsea game. I'm never making that mistake again. Never.
I couldn't. Think that with the manager, do you also have to never make that mistake again with the players as well?
Of course,
I think Amanor brings
I'll
up a good point there.
I'll say one thing. It's just not the manager; it's the players as well. Because we can say that we go round and round in circles with the manager, but it's the same players non-stop. How many of these players have been here, letting us down season after season? I've already said it before. 90% of these players need to go. I've had enough of them. And people want to say to us, well, we sacked the manager, what do you do? It's not our job to know what's best for the club, which direction we should, they should go with the manager. The reason why the director of football gets paid millions and the CEO gets paid millions and everyone else in that club is for them to make them decisions, not us. We're fans. I'm a fan. I don't sit here revolving my whole time around what other managers and other leagues are doing to know who's the best for us. That's their job. My job as a fan is to see my team win and see my players go out there and perform for us as fans. And they're not doing that. And we're doing, it's every game. Like one game we could be winning, another game we're crap. This game here is probably the worst I've seen like this whole season. Even the other games that we've been in, right? The UCL games, like the Newcastle game, this is the worst. And it could have been worse. It could have been 4-0. And VAR let us off.
Yeah.
And these players here, oh my God, like people are like nitpicking who's worse. They're all bad, man. They were all bad. Even like Anana was poor today. Martial was poor. Bruno, man, got himself a yellow card, so he didn't have to face Liverpool. Let's face it, because we all knew what happened last year. Especially, he was the worst player on that pitch last year when we play Liverpool. And then you've got Bayern Munich losing 5-1. There's no way in hell Tuchel was going to let him have a day off on Tuesday. He's going to make them go out there and take out their anger on us. And, oh, man, do you know what, Owen? I've just had enough. I feel like what Neville said last week. He doesn't want to watch this team anymore. He doesn't want to watch these players. But at the end of the day, we're going to keep coming back. That's what we do. We keep coming back. We keep taking licks. And that's how it's going to go for the rest of the season. I don't believe, like, this guy's going to get sacked until our new CEO turns up. What's his name? Blanc, right?
Yeah.
They're going to make a decision. Even if they get rid of him, it will be an interim manager, or they'll probably put Darren Fletcher in control, and then we'll have a new man summer. Because they're not going to go out there and just quickly pick someone. They're going to take their time. They're going to see what direction we need to go in. They're going to see what players should be here, what players that we need to go for. There's no structure in this team. I don't understand what style of football we're playing with this manager. He's already come out and said that he was never going to play the Ajax way, so I don't get why we got this guy if we were going to do that. And people say that the Glazers are forcing him to play the United way. What the hell do the Glazers know about the United way? They don't know anything.
I think as you say there's no structure in the team. I think the bigger picture is there's no structure in the club, and that's why I think it's an interesting point you make about, you know, as a fan you just want to see your team win. So when you say get rid of the manager, you know, it's not your job to know who the replacement would be. But also as a fan and having gone through this process as well, is it also a point of view of like, but I don't trust the club to make that call and get that.
No, you don't trust anyone who's there at the moment. Not until like the changes come in and we have to see what they're looking to do. We can't predict what they're going to do because we don't really know what they want. But from what I've seen, what Ratcliffe's been doing at least, this guy will sack managers if they're not doing their job. So that's why I know by the time it comes to next season, I don't think Ten Hag's going to be here at all. Mate, do you know what? These players are a disgrace, you know, man. Like, there's not a single, like, even we've took Rashford out for 2 games, and we're still crap. We were blaming this guy a lot for not doing it, and the wingers that come in his place are just as bad as well. Like, I won't go too deep in on like players like Garnacho and that, but they're not going to learn off of these players that are at our club, and I feel sorry for the youngsters who've come in and they've got this bunch of lot to try and lead them. Like, these lot are embarrassing, man. They're not a single one of their players, other than Varane and Casemiro, I would never slate them to because they're winners. That's what you call winners and world-class players. The rest of these lot at our club, mate, you lot are disgrace. I will never, ever call you lot Man United players. You will never be, once you leave this club, no one will ever remember you. Like, you will never be legends of this club. You'll never be icons of this club. And you lot you might wear the shirt, but you don't deserve it. Like, honestly, man, I'm dreading what's going to happen in these next 2 games, man, because it don't look pretty, man. I don't know. I don't know how you feel, to be fair, man, because you come on here every week. You got to do this every week. Like, you got to come face us lot. You got to face, like, the ops and all that. I don't know, man. It's not looking good.
I think it's just, like you said, that it's the thing of being a fan, isn't it? Is that you get a good result in the week and you think things are getting better, and your perception of the games that have taken place previously kind of changes because you go, well, actually, maybe we're heading in the right direction. But this is I think Ten Hag will stay to the end of the season unless it just gets so toxic that, you know, they decide that he has to go. But I agree with you. I think the problem is at the moment the club isn't even in a position to make that big of a decision, because people that would be, even if it was announced tomorrow, Jim Ratcliffe's in now, the thing's sorted, blah, 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 they wouldn't make that decision tomorrow because all of the certain people aren't in place. So this is going to be,
that's why I said it's going to take them time.
It's going to be to the end of the season. And I mean, you would hope they would get that decision right, but that decision of who that next person would be, if indeed it wasn't Ten Hag, I think the bigger decision is you look at the group of players and go, how many are we going to get rid of? And actually it should be a very, very high percentage, you know?
It's like whatever they do when they come in, they first of all need to decide, can the players that are here, which of them can they trust to go on next season? Because I don't trust a lot of them at the moment, and I don't want to see a lot of them leading us next season to to start the next campaign. I can't do it, man. And you have to look at the players that have been here the longest, like, other than like some of the new signings as well. They're not as good, but you have to look at the ones who have been here the longest. Like, you have to look at Rashford as well. You have to look at the Maguire thing. He can't be getting no new contract. I don't care. He's been playing well. We just got embarrassed today, and he was part of that. Yeah, and I think it's about time a lot of these players are sold in January, in the summer. I don't care how long it takes. Start getting them out one by one. We have to start looking at different players. A lot of these are just mentally weak as well, physically, mentally weak. We've got to start changing. I don't know, man. I'm just sad, mate. I can't. It's every week, man. One day we win, then it's losses again. Nah, we have to change.
Yeah, big up Pav calling in as always. And I think that's kind of the sort of feeling at the moment, isn't it? It's just like I'm almost at a loss for words. And I think most people here in the chat or watching us afterwards would acknowledge the fact, like, this is going to be us, and like this isn't going to get better for a while. You know what I mean? And it's just, we've had these conversations time and time again, and I don't know. It's tough as a fan, isn't it? Because I said throughout this week, when you do win a game, you want to celebrate it, and you should celebrate it. You don't want to have the feeling of when you win a game going, oh, but the next game, what we're going to happen in the next game? But this is what happens in the next game, you know? So those people that are sort of, they struggle to celebrate those wins. They're like, well, this is why, because you know this kind of thing's coming. It's tough. It certainly is. Let's go to another call. Let's go to Chalaboy Comics. You always like to try with the positives. I don't know if there are any today. What did you make of it?
Yeah, good to see you, Owen. Not too many positives, but I think, I don't want to be too reactionary, but I think a lot of what let us down was the final pass and the final ball, right? I think our quality when it was time to turn it, an opportunity into a chance was lacking. But I do want to actually push back on what I'm seeing, because I think like Shar, I don't know what the super chat was, but like him, I thought Martial had a good game. Like, it wasn't out of this world. But and hear me out, Owen. And I actually did look back at like his the first half, right? Because when we were playing, when Bournemouth went 1-0 up, leading up to halftime, didn't we feel that a goal was coming? Like, our pressure was still.
No, I really didn't.
You didn't feel okay. So I felt like I thought a goal was coming. I felt like we were on the front foot. We were trying to make plays. I was actually watching Martial, and one of the things that we missed when he went off was him dropping in, playing the ball out, and playing off him. Like, all our best opportunities to get a goal came from him being involved in the play. Now, I'm not saying that he had an amazing game, but it seems to me that he's the only guy not allowed to make mistakes, because I saw Reguilon put in 5 terrible crosses. I saw, when Martial went off, I saw Dalot go for a shot instead of squaring it back to Højlund, and then they go on and they score 2-0. So I'm not saying we played well, as a team, but I think it was more so about us making mistakes that led to the goals. And Onana should be saving that header. Like, it barely passed, the central zone, so it wasn't a good game. And I'm not like here to, say, oh, we played amazing, but I honestly don't believe Martial was the reason, why we lost. And I do believe he had a decently strong game. And when Højlund came off, I'm not saying, not digging him out, but where we lost some sort of control of the game because we didn't have players dropping in. When Martial was trying to link up with McTominay's quality of the second pass let us down. So it's actually really strange, because I don't think he had a bad performance, but I felt like the narrative that we're seeing is that he was like terrible and he needs to get out. So I just wanted to temper that, and I think it was just a situation of us not converting our pressure into chances, because the final ball was atrocious by pretty much everyone. Bruno, Reguilon, and that's just my initial feeling. And I just wanted to just provide a little bit of balance to this Martial commentary, because he was by no means close to being our worst player.
No, I think this is the thing with it as well. I don't think that, any player, maybe apart from Maguire, like I said, today you could be like, oh, they did well. Martial, again, for me, I did great. But at the same time, Garnacho didn't do great. At the same time, Anthony didn't do great. At the same time, Luke Shaw today, I thought had an absolute stinker, particularly for that second goal, got absolutely bullied.
Yeah.
I think maybe the Martial thing is just a case of maybe his tenure at Manchester United. You know, is the fact that he's been at the club for so long. He's still, you know, the injuries and the not playing the 90 minutes and all that kind of stuff. And maybe that's what it is. It's a build-up of frustration of like, when he was picked today, you kind of know what you're going to get. And when it doesn't go right, you go, you know, I mean, I'm just looking at some of the stats after the game. You know, we had 20 shots, only 3 on target. And I think the only save that I can really recall the goalkeeper making was the Maguire header in the first half.
And then Martial's weak left foot shot that he you know, and again, he was trying because he had like played off people, wasn't getting the return pass, and was like, all right, this time I'm going to take the initiative, you know. But I understand what you're saying with the tenure. Martial's been here a long time. I just don't like when people try to claim he's not a good player. He's injured. He hasn't lived up to his potential. I'm behind that as well. But I just feel that he's been scapegoated to a degree that is quite strange. And I think the actual focus should be on our captain, Bruno Fernandes, because you know, in one of the I think it was maybe a press conference reaction you were doing. We were talking about the Bruno yellow card with Flex, right? And I posted in the chat, I was like, if Bruno as a captain gets a yellow card, that would be wild. And he didn't get it for 80th minute. I was like, oh, Bruno is actually like, at least he's not playing well, but at least he's kept himself on. And then he gets one for dissent. That was honestly atrocious. And you know, I don't want to slander Bruno because I know that a lot of good things come when he's, you know, and he's given us some good moments. But that is honestly unacceptable because it's basically him saying, I don't want to play Liverpool. That's basically what it is, you know. And I know maybe I don't want to read into it too much, but for me as a captain, that was honestly pathetic. And the fact that he wasn't contributing to the game in terms of his final ball, kicking it long, you know, like, it was just pretty bad from him, and so I was so disappointed. I don't know what Ten Hag's going to do going forward. He's probably going to bring Bruno back in the lineup, but that was a sad indictment, and it almost sort of justifies what Keane was saying when he's like, Bruno's not captain material. I defended Bruno. I was like, no, you know, different type of captain, but today was unacceptable.
No, I agree. I think it's one thing to be booked for putting a tackle in that you go, oh, that's just stupid. But or like, you know, when it happened to Casemiro last season, when it was actually Bruno gave the ball away and Casemiro kind of had to make the tackle, and he was like, well, that's what I had to do. But for dissent, when you're 3-0 down, it's just pointless. It's just pettiness. And it's almost the height of petulance, isn't it? I mean, and that's the thing that people criticize him for the most is his attitude and his petulance. And because of that, we don't have him for arguably the biggest game of the season away from home at Liverpool next week. It's just unacceptable. Finally, what's your thoughts and feelings on Ten Hag at the moment? What do you think his future looks like after next week, certainly?
So yeah, he's entering a really big week, and after the Chelsea game, I was actually pretty confident that we were gonna beat Bayern. You know, I don't know why. I was like, we're gonna beat Bayern. I don't think we'll make it through. But then I was scared for the Liverpool game. Right now, I don't know what to what to feel. But what I would say about Ten Hag is that he needs to stick by his decisions, because it felt like he put Højlund on because he didn't want the criticism of us saying, oh, you should have started the same team from last time. So Højlund's on. He's like, look, Højlund's back on. You know, don't blame me if we don't score. Whereas what he needed to do was to stick by his decisions, see the game plan out. We were only 1-0 down. You know, so if Ten Hag wants to stay as manager, he needs to trust himself. He needs to trust himself, play the right team, and when things aren't going bad, don't always hook someone up off at halftime. Make slight tactical adjustments, but stick. Have some metal. Have some metal, because I feel like he's buckling too much on like sort of a public perception, and I just hope he sorts it out pretty quickly, because I still back him. I still think he's a really strong manager, but he needs to find a way to be more what's the word? Be more convicted about his decision making, and don't leave things to chance. Don't oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. Just stick to what you know, and go forward. So that's it. I'm disappointed, but let's see if we can do something against the Scousers.
Yeah, I mean, believe you got to believe, got to try and believe. But I think everyone that's saying that goes, no, I know, I know, everyone knows it. How many likes are we currently on at the moment? I get that. Obviously, it's not a very likable situation, but it does help out the channel certainly. We're on 122 likes. So if you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Thank you, by the way. Recently, over 158,000 subscribers. So really appreciate that as well. Let's go to another call. Let's go to who have we got here? Let's go to Jay. Jay, what are your thoughts on what you saw today? Jay, I'm speechless too. Oh, there's always one in the stream, isn't there? There's always one. I know someone I can rely on though, and that's Charles. Charles, in the week you were talking about, Chinese food. You were happy. You had nothing negative to say. I've got a gut feeling your reaction might be slightly different today.
Bro, it's like I need to put out some kind of PSA. Last week I was drunk off of gambling, It happens to the best of us. I looked at El Modico and it made me $25. So yes, I was gassed. But today, God have mercy, my eyes are clear. This you guys manager, yeah, this bald brother. Somebody tell me what he is good at managerially. Just one thing that this guy is good at. We are batting at 50-50. We've played 23 games, 11 wins and 11 losses, 1 draw. What is going on here? What is this guy doing? We played against Chelsea. Chelsea are the epitome of shite. Honestly, they really are. But they had like 5 clear-cut chances where you just think if they didn't have Mudryk and Nicholas Jackson that needed motivation, those guys could have really done us dirty. Those guys had clear-cut chances, like open net, one-on-ones, clear-cut. They passed through our midfield. They bypassed it like it wasn't there. Today, we faced Bournemouth at home. What happened? Most of the goals, they literally just bypassed our midfield like it wasn't there. It's the same thing happening game in, game out for 23 games. Our midfield is just bypassed. And our attack, no matter who you stick up there, brother, it's hell. It's a graveyard. People are saying, why is Martial this? Why is Martial that? Amongst our 2 strikers, he's the only one that has a Premier League goal right now. One of them cost 65 million. One of them was supposed to be the future. Somebody tell me what this brother is doing. We say it is the players. We've been saying it is the players since around Mourinho. Ten Hag has come and signed at least 12 players, and he has promoted at least another 3. So 15 new players in the squad. And was you saying it's the players? If it's the players, why is he playing them?
Is it partially almost a case of everyone though, Charles? I mean, the manager certainly not helping himself, but the players, a bit like kind of Show, and I think Pav was saying earlier on, just these players, they're just not good enough. They're also not good enough. And also, when you look at the responsibility of who's bringing them in, whether it's Ten Hag for his signings or just the recruitment department in the past, all of it, like Manchester United, just fundamentally is just all broken in every single level.
I agree. Some of the players are shit. But the thing is, the players that are really shit, United fans champion. Bruno Fernandes, as they pronounce it, bro. This guy, he has been consistently inconsistent. He has been rubbish season in, season out. When he first came, Martial was getting him the most penalties, bro. He was feasting. We all championed this guy. Since then, it has been a gradual decline. This brother will play a 0 out of 10, get 1 penalty. Fans will say, Bruno. We are seeing it now. We made him the captain. Now the eyes are firmly on him. He's expected to lead. He's expected to carry us. And he's crumbling. He is looking like a mid-table player. This guy, granted, yeah, whenever we've played Liverpool, I can only think of one time Bruno has actually been useful, and he scored the free kick in the FA Cup or something. But every other time he's been rubbish. He's been missing. But players would take the blame. Today, nobody can tell me this guy did not take that yellow on purpose. There was no reason why he needed to get a yellow. None. We are heading into our most difficult week where, to be honest, we all expect we're going to hold it.
Yeah.
And our captain just jumped ship against Liverpool. What is this?
Mm.
Who is letting this happen?
Yeah, and also as well, when we talk about, you know, the example being set, you know, forget about being, you know, an inspirational leader or grabbing the team by the scruff of the neck, what have you. Just in terms of the behavioral example, I mean, it's shocking, isn't it? I mean, there's no defending that at all today, at all. And I mean, what would you like to see in terms of the Ten Hag reaction to that? What do you think he should do for when Bruno does come back once he is no longer suspended?
He shouldn't be coming back. We need to be giving this Sancho treatment to everybody equally and unilaterally, bro. Because what this guy did, he jumped ship. We all say Sancho left, Sancho jumped ship. Fine. This brother ditched us for our most important game. He's the captain. He cannot come back into the starting lineup immediately. He has to hold bench. He really does. There has to be a punishment for this, because the yellow card, like, I don't know who said it, it wasn't some kind of tackle, it wasn't a Casemiro situation. He just decided to be petulant, and he knows he's on 4 yellows. This would have been stressed to him in team meetings, in personal meetings, before they even walked out, and he still went and did it. He can't let this slide. It can't just be shoved under the mat. No, somebody needs to be punished. And also, this McTominay thing, yeah, I feel like we can all calm down now. We can all relax. We can all understand that McTominay is useful for certain games and in certain moments, but he is not that guy. He is not the person that should be starting. If this guy doesn't score, he offers nothing. Like, he's not even in the midfield anymore. During build-up, his job is just to run into the box and stay up there till the ball gets to him. That's it.
Does that almost say the bigger problem as well then with United at the moment is that it would appear, and everyone knows it, everyone's been saying that about McTominay, right? Is that he, apart from the goals, he does nothing. And even when he scores those goals in the games, he doesn't have the best game. But the reason he's having to play is because he's the only one scoring goals, and the front three, they can't score goals at the moment. Like, is that just, does that almost sum us up at the moment? The fact that we're having to put a player into the team where it's like, we know he's not good, but he's offering something that the players that should be doing that, scoring goals, aren't doing. I mean, it's madness, is it not?
And who is the person that is in charge of this madness? Who is the person that is at the helm while all this madness is going on? Erik ten Hag, bro. That guy is at the seat of the table, just watching it and telling us we have to do better. Every week, we have to do better. Every game, we have to do better. When we lose, we have to do better. When we win and we are still poor, it was a wonderful game. We controlled the game. It makes no sense. It really doesn't. And now we are going to face Bayern, and Bayern just held 5. And to be honest, yeah, I know everybody right now is down, but just think of it. We are hitting 50-50. Liverpool or Bayern. If we don't win one, it's very possible that we can get a draw in one of those games. These players can do it. They will just come out and you will see them. They're like primes, Giggs and the brothers. They will band together. Liverpool, it could be 1-1. Bayern, it could be 1-1.
Do you really think that? I mean, we ain't drawing games. We ain't drawing games until this season.
We have one draw, bro. We have to trust in something, at least against Liverpool. They seem to get up for Liverpool. Even though right now, I'm just trying to be positive because I just can't think that we're going to Anfield, yeah, when every match we concede at least 4 goals, 4 chances, no matter who we play. On our own accord, we concede we give them 4, take 4 chances. Now we are playing against Diaz. We're playing against Salah. Without any midfield, imagine Salah running at Harry Maguire. Oh my days. Imagine Diaz running at Harry Maguire. Jota in the box. Trent just whipping it in with no remorse. So, but like that guy is not even, I don't even think he is good. But just imagine him running at Harry Maguire, bro.
It's not even necessarily Harry Maguire that I'm worried about. It's the other players. You know what I mean? It's running at Dallo, or it's running at Regulon, or it's running at...
Wan-Bissaka will probably play against Liverpool.
I hope so, but even that, like, I'm worried about, because him against Newcastle, he was shocking. He was rubbish. But then again, he had Rashford on his side. I don't know, man. I don't know. Big up Charles for calling in, as always. Excellent call. It's just Man United, honestly. Couple of super chats here. K Flow says, "Forget Bruno. Where was McTominay? Crap." Watermelon Man says, "Why Martial before Højlund and why Luke Shaw before Varane at centre back? Man United is like a shifty girlfriend. I don't want to ditch for some reason, but I can't ditch your team, can you? Unfortunately, and it's the hope certainly that kills you, no doubt about that." Let's go to our final call. Let's go to it says D York 2. What are your thoughts on the game?
Owen, before I start, I just want to say I apologize for the last time we spoke. I know I mentioned Woodward, cost me a sin bin.
Oh.
However, the point I was making, which KG actually made in a reckless thoughts, was, you know, the individuals that need to be in particular positions need to, you know, stay in those positions and do what they're best at. And that's not just upstairs in the board. That's all the way down to the players. This club is at the moment very heartbreaking. And it's just, we could talk all day about it, right? Like today's play, just watching us concede to Bournemouth, the way we struggle against mushroom teams, struggle to get one. We went down 1-0. I said, here we go. My boy said, bro, don't be a negative, Nancy. I said, our reputation precedes us.
Yeah.
We go down and we can't catch. I mean, where do we start? The players? I mean, you know, they can have instructions, but if the players aren't putting it out on the field, what are we to do?
Yeah, I mean, where do you sit on the manager? Where do you put the blame? Is it more towards the manager? Is it more towards the players? Is it, you know, are they both to blame?
I honestly, I think it's a 60-40. I think it's a 60-40 manager players, because the players are the ones on the field. The manager can't be on the field. However, the manager is tactics. The manager is what's being done in training. The manager at this current point in time, the way our club is structured, which is absolute shite. The manager is signings. So it's one of those things where I watch United every weekend, week in, week out, at work, on my lunch, and I watch with indifference, because I'm just like, I can't get excited. I can't get excited. The manager was playing a particular way last season, and like Ole, after he got the job from being an interim, switched exactly the way he was playing, and it was downhill from there. And I don't trust the players because they're not performing on the field. I play semi-pro in Israel. How can you have 28 chances on goal, 4 on target? That's atrocious. So that tells me finishing is not being done in training. These players are not focusing. And everybody's Ten Hag out, get Ten Hag out. The problem is, if you sack Ten Hag, we'll be in the cycle again. I don't trust the club to make the right decision to sack the coach, when to sack the coach, how to sack the coach, who to bring in as a replacement, because we can't trust the board. So I don't even trust them to know, all right, look, this is the time to sack the coach. It's getting, they're not competent enough to know when, how, who to replace, the right way to go about it. So it's one of those situations where it's put on your helmets, because it's for a while until Ineos comes in, and when they come in, it's still going to be some time. That's why the club, and a lot of people say we have structure. Like I said in our last call before I got sin bin, we have structure, but it's not the correct structure up top to know when, how, who to bring in regards to sacking the manager. That comes from structure, style of play, the profiles that we go look at. How much are we paying for these players? Are they the correct profile for this right style of play that are going to fit this team? That's all structure that we lack, and you're seeing it. You're seeing it from top all the way to bottom. And next week, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either.
We might get up for a game and put out a performance of our lifetime, which is going to have to be, because these good teams, especially teams like City, Liverpool, Bayern, these top teams, when they get smacked, you see the next game, and that team takes the hell hath no fury. The team takes that wrath, and unfortunately, I think it may not be bad, but I'm not confident that we're going to do too much next week.
No, me neither. Certainly appreciate you for calling in. As always, my friend, got to wrap things up. But there's still plenty of content on the horizon. Oh, I tell you what, I'm drained. Oh, Man United. And I've seen some of the quotes from Ten Hag, and they're not great either. They're not great. We'll go through those tomorrow. Match day reloaded, 9 a.m. Won't be live tomorrow because I'm traveling tomorrow, but it will be recorded. So you will get a match day reloaded for you in the morning, 9 a.m. Then tomorrow, full view with the panel. A lot to talk about. Big week ahead. Awful result, embarrassing results, and just Man United. Who would be a Man United fan anyway? Ridiculous. Anyway, guys, as I mentioned, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe. A reminder, there's plenty of UV content on the horizon. All of the fan views, all of the reactions, player ratings, etc. after the game inside UVHQ with Flex and the panel, as well as Flex with KG and the panel, and with Flex outside. I'm just strained. I'm just strained. And with Flex outside Old Trafford. Be sure to check that out, and I'll speak to you again very soon. I'm out of here. Peace.